capturing. Like it's not just the sun, it's about capturing the sun and about kind of capturing in this power structure. So I think it's a little different. I was going to sneeze there. Yeah, so I think it's not that it's all of the things about power have to do with this idea of capturing. And so you can imagine that the symbolism of capturing the sun's power in a battery, or capturing it through a panel of some kind, is very similar to the idea of capturing electricity as well, and kind of holding it in a way that now you can use as a form of power. All right, so Patreon. Moving on to Patreon. All right. All right, so Elisa asks, what is the symbolism of tails? Is it significant that human beings don't have tails? It is very significant that human beings don't have tails. And so, yeah, Mathieu, man, I wish Mathieu could tell you about his analysis of the symbolism of tails. He has a really, really good vision of that. And it has to do with, you could say that human beings are one above and are two below. And so there's it's like a pyramid, and that is very important. But animals have a residue, you could say, of that structure, and that residue is a tail. And so you could imagine that the tail is like a unity from behind, but it's flexible, it's shifty. So it's like a snake kind of, right? And so that's what the tail has to do with. Yeah. So that's what a tail is. All right, Jeremy Firth, what is the symbolism of graffiti? Most of it is tagging. I was here in forbidden places, and it's often coded with obscure fonts or in-group references in public places. Can you talk a bit more about the symbolism of graffiti? And so graffiti is definitely a form of, it's definitely a form of participation that is very low, let's say, on the scale of participation, in the sense that it's a form of participation which is playing on the idea of the fool or the illicit. It has to do with a jester. It has to do with the idea that, so let's say you make a really nice building, and you're like, I've got this, right? Look at how powerful we are. Look at how we made this thing, right? This is the structure that's holding up our city, right? These are the structures that are making the system work. And then someone, all they need to do is to come with a can of spray paint and go, shh. And but what they're doing by saying that is, you can't hold it all together. You can't keep this clean. You can't control everything. And so it's like a challenge to the control of the system. And so the more the system becomes, so graffiti has always existed. You find it in Roman times, you find it all in all kinds of moments. But the fact that graffiti becomes almost like a cultural art form can only happen in a world that is extremely controlling and extremely systematic and extremely clean and technical. And so you have all these structures, and then someone comes and just puts their name on there. It's like they just tag it, and it's like you said, you're not even supposed to really read their name. It's almost like an obscure kind of chaotic sign that just shows that the system isn't total. So and that's why it's also like an affirmation of the individual. And so you always, when we talk about individualism, you also have to understand that the individualism is the balance of the tyrannical kind of state system. So the idea of like the rock star that is like an individual and has his own style, and the artist that has their own style, and you can recognize, and you can that it's that person by the way they look, by the way they dress, by the way they draw, by their art. that's just a reaction to the other side, which is this extremely kind of mechanical world in which we live. And so you can understand then that in a system that is tyrannical, someone to challenge that will want to assert their individuality. And so a graffiti artist is something like the punk rocker, right, that doesn't want to follow your rules, and that will have some idiosyncratic way of dressing in order to kind of call attention to themselves in a world of robots and a world of people that are all the same. And so, but they're both the same. They're both two sides of the same coin. And one is, let's say, one brings about the other. And so the graffiti artist will bring about systems of cleaning, systems of control that are even more radical, that'll force the police to criminalize graffiti because there's so much of it. Or they'll try to capture it and tame it, then have walls that are just for graffiti artists, that kind of stuff. And so it's a super interesting thing, especially like the idea of all